Novel Universe Podcast, a monthly YA podcast hosted by Dawn and Elise Martinez, YA librarians from the Chicagoland area. Each episode features reviews and rants on new and upcoming YA books. We're here to help you navigate your TBR pile. What's good, what's bad, and everything in between. I'm Dawn, the criticizer of books.
And I'm Elise, the rejecter of romance.
So turn up the volume, here we go. Welcome back to the Novel Universe, where we are reading along with the universe, and we are on chapters 50 through the end of the book of There Will Come a Darkness by Katy Rose Pool. Thank you for joining us for the end. We will be recapping and revealing our final thoughts.
Yeah, that was a lot to get out.
You
did a good job. Alright, so, full disclosure, by the time I got to, chapter 63 out of the 70 chapters, I was like, I just need this to be done. So, we're gonna have great recaps until the end of the book.
Oh, but, you don't have faith in my recaps? Thanks.
No, I do, but, we'll just throw that out there.
Okay.
Alright, guys, let's get it started. Chapter 50.
51.
51?
Yeah.
We didn't do chapter 50.
Yeah, we did.
I don't think so.
We did. It ended with Ifira.
Really?
And she was, talking to that guy, or to someone.
Yael?
Yeah.
Okay. My bad. Chapter 51. Hassan steps out into Nazira's shores as a prisoner to face his aunt Alethea, who has, of course, declared herself queen. And she reveals how this whole time she's been, planning to take over Nazira, and it's been evolving alongside, Hassan's life back in Pelos Athos, and she recounts that she briefly believed that he was the prophet, but then, as his dream slowly continued, she's like, yeah, no, he ain't the prophet. So even his own aunt didn't believe in him, poor thing. That's it for chapter 51.
Yeah, okay, so the only thing I found interesting was that somebody else knows the prophecy, and how?
Right, because it's supposed to be a secret.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, alright.
We find out eventually, but as of right now we don't know. Alright, chapter 52. Ilya takes Anton below the city into this underground cavern where there's a lake, and he tells Anton that his memory of Ilya trying to drown him is not entirely accurate. And he basically tells him that yes, he was trying to save him because Anton saw a vision that was so terrible that he basically didn't want to live anymore, and he was trying to kill himself. So Ilya was trying to pull him out of the water, not drown him. But there's a lot of history repeating itself in this last section of chapters, and so history kind of repeats itself because Ilya actually resorts to torture to get Anton to remember this vision that he had when he was a child. So that's what happens in 52.
The only thing I noted was that this fresh water thing is going to come back. And just in case the town floods or there's a drought, they have water, and
yeah,
it doesn't come back in this book, but I think it's going to play a big part in the next.
Right. What in this chapter the author takes significant time explaining how this underwater
and that's when you know.
Works.
That's when you know it's gonna come back.
Right, it's we already hate this guy, so we don't give a shit that he cares about the aqueducts and the caverns.
Exactly.
So clearly, right, yeah.
He's not the architect, but
no, exactly. Yeah, good point on that one. So chapter 53, the witnesses are unloading Jude in Nazira, and he sees Godfire burning across the city and in the lighthouse, and it's a reminder of the Aerophant's power. And right as he's noticing all of this, the Aerophant finally reveals himself to somebody in the book. So we finally get to kind of meet him. He wears a mask, so we don't actually fully know his identity. But he tells Jude that Jude's sense of purpose has been mistaken, and that he reveals that he has Jude's Order of the Last Light members. Oh yeah, he's got them captive. And he knows all about the prophecy.
Yeah.
So somehow
we still don't know how.
Even by the end of the book we don't know how.
Yeah. So we have a standard fantasy trope. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's a trope of the highest being of the book is corrupt as well. Like we saw it in Throne of Glass. It's in a lot of fantasies where everyone believes in the gods, everyone believes in the prophets, everyone believes in the king, but they're also corrupt, which makes people kind of go bad themselves. So, you know, like I said, it's not necessarily a bad thing because it's a trope, but it, you know, it's an effective trope.
All right, chapter 54. I'm getting all the pop-ups on my phone. Leithia and Hassan go to the lighthouse where it's revealed that the flame has been replaced by Godfire. The Hierophant announces that Hassan has lied to everyone by claiming to be the prophet. The reader kind of knows that this isn't necessarily true, like Hassan didn't try to willfully deceive anybody, but things started happening so fast that he couldn't really take the time to be like, whoa guys, I know the plan's already in action and 50% done, but I'm not actually the prophet. I mean, how do you just drop that? So, you know, you're a little sympathetic. And he tells the crowd of prisoners that Hassan is in fact the first harbinger of darkness.
I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
How he kind of flips it on everybody, like, psych, you're really the deceiver.
Right.
It's up to whoever to believe him.
And if you read the back of the book, this makes sense now. The age of darkness approaches. 5 lives stand in its way. Who will stop it or unleash it? I think this group is doing a lot more of unleashing than they are of stopping, which, you know, I like that.
Another thing about this chapter that I found interesting is that we're kind of like wagging our finger at the witnesses because they're blindly following the prophet who isn't exactly speaking, you know, unbelievable things. I could see why they're like, oh yeah, I believe that. But at the same time, you also have the Last Order who is also blindly following a quote unquote prophet. So even they each think they're following the right thing, but they're using faith, which is a very strong emotion, to compel them. And I like how Katy Rose used the word false prophet, which is a very Christian thing to say.
Yes.
I don't know how many times I heard the word false prophet going every Sunday. Like, I was like, oh wow. It was like flashbacks. I saw false prophet. I was like, oh god, PTSD.
What I like, that's interesting that you say that, like, the vision is very much, like, straight out of Revelation. Like, like smoke clouding the sun and, like, just ash and everything burning. And so, yeah, this is very, sort of, like, adjacent to Christian mythology, which is interesting. So, okay. Chapter 55, Ilya's torture of Anton continues below the city, and slowly parts of the vision are starting to come back to him. Specifically, he starts seeing lightning silhouetted against a dark sky. I kind of took this to be the lighthouse, especially because chapter 56 starts with Hassan, like, literally looking at the lighthouse. So I was like, that's kind of foreshadowing. And through the fear and pain of torture, he somehow unleashes his grace and seems to call for help. So he's like Esha, like, shoots out. He's calling somebody.
Yeah, I was confused about his power. Like, so can he feel Esha through other dimensions too? I was kind of confused.
I don't know. I had to read that a couple times, and I didn't really glean anything. It seems like the grace of sight is a little bit of, like, the worst, because you can't really do anything for yourself except see shit. Okay. So when he's calling to people, I was like, oh, this is a thing? I don't know if it's just...
She has to really explain it, and I'm still not sure what I'm reading. So I'm just like, I'll figure it out as I keep going along.
Yeah. Chapter 56, the Hierophant brings forth the Godfire to begin the reckoning. So, like, shit has officially gone down. And Jude, as he's about to be burned with the Godfire, feels the call of grace from somewhere outside of himself. And he knows it to be connected to the last true prophet, like the actual prophet. So he, I guess going right into, we'll just talk about 56 and 57 together. He now feels invigorated by this call, so he's able to, like, snap the chains that bind him and, like, start fighting back. And he frees the other members of the Order of the Last Light. And a new plan is made to find the prophet, and Jude is led underground where Anton is being tortured. And he finally realizes that, well, Anton's the prophet.
Yeah.
So I was talking with Dawn about this before we started podcasting, about how, like, I try not to guess the little secrets of books because then it makes it less surprising and impactful to me. And I had guessed way before this that Anton was the true prophet. There are a lot of reasons, and obviously she puts those in place to lay the groundwork, but it was almost too much groundwork laid. Maybe not. I don't know. It's just me. I like to be a little bit more surprised, and I was kind of just like, oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, she did, like you say, lay the groundwork that Hassan was not the prophet, so then you kind of have to figure out who else is the prophet.
Right.
And I feel like Baru and Ifira weren't in the story enough for them to be the prophet, in that because Anton has this power and he doesn't know how to use it, and it's kind of like...
And he's actively running from his destiny. Like, that's just...
It wasn't badly written or anything.
No.
But it, because we kind of guessed it was a little anticlimactic. It was great to see through Jordan. Who the heck is Jordan? Jude's eyes. Jude's eyes.
Yeah.
That he was the prophet. Like, okay, cool.
Sure.
But I get it.
I was hoping for a little bit more of a moment, which I just didn't get. Again, not badly written, not complaining, and it doesn't affect my overall rating of the book, but just a slight beef there. Okay, chapter 58. Hassan and the rest of the Order are trapped by Lethia and the Aerophant inside of the light. I think they were in the lighthouse. Or were they in some kind of, like, random tower when the burning is happening?
No, they're in some tower.
Okay. Godfire is burning around them, and they're basically left for dead. Hassan is also with them, and Penrose is basically like, bro, you're the only one here who isn't graced, so you can jump through this fire with only some minor scalding. Do it! Help us! Don't just die here under some false sense of, like, honor.
A martyr.
I was like, thank you! I fucking hate that. So she, like, kicks his ass in gear, and he jumps out and actually helps the rest of them escape, so he saves their lives, and, yeah, that's chapter 58.
Yeah. All I put is Hassan grows. Which, I mean, he had nowhere to go but to grow.
Right, absolutely.
He realized that he doesn't need to be graced to be important.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I mean, good for him. He needed to realize that. Now we can all move on. So, hopefully he'll be better in book 2, because he's come to this realization. Anyway, chapter 59, Anton feels Jude's grace as he recovers from being drowned. So Anton is now reciprocating the feelings that Jude has been feeling. He knows that either way, he's got to face the vision that he saw many years ago, whether it's with Jude or with his brother. So he and Jude leave the cavern together, and Jude explains that he found Anton because his Esha called out to him.
I like how in these chapters, Jude is basically Neo from the Matrix. He's like dodging bullets. He's like bending backwards.
He's grabbing
just
swords
like
from behind. Yeah,
he is just doing all the powerful things. That's really funny imagining that. I just thought it was interesting.
All right, chapter 60. Hassan finds Capri, and she helps him with his escape plan. And having rescued the Order of the Last Light members from the fire, they get them onto ships, and they're like, let's all go, we got places to be. And Hassan is like, no, I'm gonna stay here and fight for my country and my city because this is my duty and my destiny. And Capri's like, all right, well, I'm gonna stay with you too. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, chapter 61.
Oh, I did have something to say.
Go ahead.
Only briefly, that the whole first part of the book, Hassan is like really worried that this lighthouse burning is basically, he's like, this is cursed if it burns. He's been worried, and now he's like taking the power back away from this curse, and he's like, I'm gonna be the one to end it.
Apparently I did not write that down. Either my stuff didn't save, but I literally wrote like he's going to destroy the lighthouse to save. Was that later?
No.
Yeah. So yeah, in chapter 60, he decides that, like, this lighthouse has been a beacon for my family and it's supposed to stand, but clearly this is the only way to end this conflict, so I've got to tear it down. I've got to destroy it. Okay, 61. We're back to Ifira, and she remembers the day that Baru died of the sickness that overtook their village. She remembers basically, like, fighting her townspeople to prevent Baru's body from being taken and burned, and she passes out. And between her passing out and waking up, she did something to bring Baru back to life. She doesn't remember, therefore the reader doesn't exactly know what kind of happened. But when she wakes up, Baru's alive and everyone else is dead. And so in chapter 61, again, history basically repeats itself. and she sees that Beru is close to death. And obviously Hector's there because he said, remember from the last podcast, that he was going to wait with her until she died so that at least she wasn't alone. Well, him being the only breathing, living thing nearby, she flat up kills this motherfucker.
That was really sad.
That's
so what I wrote.
sad.
Well, that was sad.
Yeah.
That was sad.
I liked his character.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what his purpose in the book was, necessarily. I kind of thought that he would come back to Jude. Not, like, romantically, but just, like, let's finish what we started together.
Yeah.
So that's going to really affect Jude's development in book 2.
Yeah.
The knowledge of Hector being gone, and it really pits Ephira and Beru against him.
Yeah.
So that's where that all is kind of beginning. All right. Beru wakes up, Hector is dead, and she basically says, look, I love you so much, I need to leave you so that you can either, like, fix yourself or just not cause any more death because of me. So she leaves and tells Ephira not to follow her.
Yeah.
That was really sad. Super sad chapter. Chapter 62, Jude and Anton are trying to escape via the underground waterways. I almost said
Underground Railroad.
Goodness. When they see the lighthouse burning, they both... This is my bullshit recap. Oh. This is when I knew I was done. When they see the lighthouse burning, they both take off to see what's going on. And Dawn was like, that is not what's happening. Due to the torture that he's undergone, Anton basically is just, like, done with life. He's like, I need to die. So he's going to kill himself, and Jude takes off after him to, again, prevent this from happening.
Yeah. All right, so this is where I jump in to do the recaps. They won't be as thorough as Elise's. Sorry. Hassan goes into the lighthouse and he's like taken over by smoke. I kind of skipped over that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, totally.
64 is Anton. So Anton's climbing.
Yeah.
And he's like, I gotta get out of here, man. This is too much for me. And then they fall.
Yeah.
And 65, Jude is basically saving them through his grace. He's saving both him and Anton, kind of like Dumbledore did when Harry was falling. And he slowed it down. Sorry for all the references. 66 is the big chapter.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where Anton sees the vision that Ilya was trying to get him to see. So I'll just say that's the recap. But basically, let's talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
So he sees a wall, and then he sees smoke spiraling up from each crumbled wall, joining to the center like a points of a compass. That's the only new information that we get. The only other time that Katy Rose writes the word compass is back in chapter 56 when Jude was feeling Anton's cry for help. He said it felt like a compass was being pulled north. So I don't know if that means anything, but she has not used the word compass before. If she has, it didn't stand out. So I don't know if that means anything. And then he just kind of goes through the prophecy. It's really nothing. He just basically sees the cities fall, the prophet cities fall, and then Beru is at the end. So that's another new piece of information. Yeah. So we don't know if Beru, by the end of this chapter, we are led to believe that Beru is the cause of the end of darkness, but she might be what saves the end of darkness, because the prophet's vision is supposed to foresee how to save. And Anton, further on in the book, Anton's like, I don't know. I didn't see it in my vision, but he might have. Mm-hmm. He just didn't know it. So
and
maybe
he
Beru
doesn't have the information yet to really inform what that means. Yeah. His vision.
So maybe Beru is the end of darkness, the end of the age of darkness.
And the fact that she's on the floor screaming is odd as well. Like, she's not just there.
Letting out a shattering scream.
Right.
Yeah.
Is she being defeated and she's screaming?
At the end of her chapter, when she leaves Ephira, she says she leaves and walks into the light. What light? Yeah, she said she walks into the light.
Or metaphorical?
I don't know. I was like, guys. What light? And I was like, yeah, let's keep going.
Or maybe is it because did something have to do with Hector's Esha? curing
Did that all
her.
happen at the same time?
It happened in the same chapter, yeah.
What was it all happening around the same time?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't just realize that until now. Let me see if I can find
Chapter 60...
60?
59? Let me see. 61.
61? This is where she goes into the light?
Yeah, that's the chapter where we last see Beru. She, like, walks away from Ephira on that last page. Possibly.
Well, whatever. That's our theory. We're gonna stick with it. So maybe all that's happening, and she walks into the light, and then she wakes up screaming. I don't know. All right, 67.
Really...
67. No. It's 67. Chapter 67.
Oh.
Beru.
Oh, I did not. Hang on. Okay, you keep talking. Yeah. I'm gonna pull that up.
Okay. So this is when Beru wakes up, and she's like, "What did you do?" She's like, "I'm trying to save you," and she's like, "Look, dude, I can't do this anymore."
Oh yeah. See, when I recapped chapter 61, I actually recapped chapter 67. I'm sorry.
How'd that happen?
Yeah, because I was like, she loves her enough to be like, I just need to leave you and go, and then she separates. My bad. Because I did read the rest of the...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so Beru walks into the light. Let me see. No.
Yep,
okay,
she walks from the shade of the acacia tree and into the light.
Where's the acacia tree? Was that just only in Beru's chapters?
That was the tree that was only in Beru's chapters, and that's the tree that, remember, Hector, like, swung an axe at, I think.
Okay.
He was trying to kill her.
So when she walks into the light, it is the same time that Anton is having his vision. So, there you go.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. All right, 68 is Hassan.
He is alive.
Yeah, he's alive because Kepra, carried him. I keep mixing the two. Carried him on her back.
Kesha, Kiki, who knows? I'm kidding.
So yeah, that's where that was. 69 is another big chapter.
This
came the hell out of nowhere. By the way. Oh yeah, the lighthouse is gone. So it's burnt. It's burnt to the ground.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's pretty much how Hassan's story ends in this book. Is like now that part of his life is gone, and now they have to move on to the next part of their journey to take back Nazira. Ephra is hanging out in her hometown, and she sees Mrs. Tappan. The hell that woman come from?
How is she there?
Yeah, I must have missed something important stuff in her chapters. So she tells Ephra about the chalice. Ephra's mad. She's like, you go on this wild goose chase. Why'd you make me find Hector? And all this happened. Of course, that was probably for a reason.
Right.
She takes her back into her home, and she shows her father's book to her, where he was also looking for the chalice. And Ephra doesn't know if he knew that her grace was too powerful and he was going to use it to stop her. We don't know. She doesn't know. I'm going to give a theory that he did know.
Yeah, I think he found it, and that's why both of his children have this crazy, like...
So you think he found it?
I think he fucking found it.
Okay.
Yeah. And somehow it, like, corrupted them and brought on this sickness that they've been, like, having to field this entire book, and he was, like, trying to get rid of it. The chalice. Because he was like, oh shit.
I think that he didn't find it, but that he knew that she somehow was going to kill the whole village, and he was going to bring the whole village back from the dead. But he just didn't get there yet. Because it does raise the dead. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We'll see.
But if it raises the dead, it can also make people dead. Like the chalice, if you don't know how to use it. I'm assuming it's going to be some kind of like, if you don't know how to use it, it could corrupt. I don't know.
Okay.
Because maybe that's why everyone died. Okay. We will find out.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So, Mrs. Tappan, which is not her name, by the way, she says, no one knows my real name. Let me see. So now we know where Ephra's journey is going to begin in the next book. Mm-hmm. She's going to be looking for the chalice. We don't know why. We don't know what it's going to do. We don't know why her father's looking for it. Probably on her journey to find it, we will learn more things about her father. Mm-hmm. He probably knew the Hierophant for all we know. Who knows?
Yeah, I have a feeling that their family history is a little bit more important.
Yeah, because we don't know anything about her family.
Right.
Okay, and the last chapter is Anton. Anton wakes up on the ship with Penrose, and he's like, where's Jude? And she's like, Jude almost died, tried to save you. He almost died several times. We had to revive him. Anton feels horrible because it's his fault. And in the end, Jude wakes up, and they just kind of have this moment of looking out on the sea. And once again, and it kind of ends like really just like chill. It doesn't end with a big like,
yeah,
we're on the battlefield about to start the war. Like, it's just like chill.
But everyone's set into their like destinies for book 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is another trope, and this actually happened in Children of Blood and Bone. Yes.
What specifically?
It's the trope of Jude. Like I said, Jude was like Neo, and he was just like fending off mofos with a single bound, and now his power has been diminished. So he's lost a lot of his power. This happened in that book too. This is another trope. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a device. And so now, it basically, I feel like Anton needs to step the fuck up now. I've lost some of my mojo. You can't be a little bitch no more, man. You gotta do it. And so Anton's got to, and so now we're really gonna see how big his power really is.
I think so too, because before, in this book, we have not really seen a lot. The most impressive thing he did was call Jude.
Yeah.
So you basically have an internal cell phone that allows you to see shit and make calls. Like, come on. So, yeah, book 2, I think, is going to reveal more of his true potential. Really, all of the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excited for Baru and Afira's chapters in book 2. They're kind of the characters I'm most interested in. I like Anton's character, but it's like once someone becomes too great, I'm not really interested anymore.
Well, you do that with everything.
I literally do. Yeah.
That's your MO.
It is my MO. I don't do it on purpose. It's a natural emotional projection for me. So it depends on what happens with his grace. And I want to see what happens to Jude, how he continues to grow in book 2 too, but book 2 as well.
Yeah. I thought this was a pretty solid fantasy.
For sure.
There were a lot of good themes, a lot of good characters. The pacing was good. I enjoyed it all the way through.
I did as well. Nothing pissed me off.
No.
At no point was I like, oh, come on. Like, in a way that mattered.
Yeah.
For me, I'm going to give this a solid 4.5. I'll be recommending this to a lot of people.
I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was.
For a debut. I hate to say that, but sometimes debuts are not great.
Yep.
Debut fantasies are not great.
This is the book I've been looking for years. In that it's a debut fantasy. Didn't we get this in the ARC box? I mean...
Well, you got a fancy
I got it mailed from the publisher.
With like tarot cards and a whole box.
I know. Thank you so much, Macmillan. But yeah, I mean, it was a cool package that we got. But anyway, I am definitely ready for book 2.
Yeah, it was a good book.
Yeah.
So... Well, clearly, if you listen to this podcast, you've already read it. Hopefully, otherwise, we just spoiled all of it for you.
Some people like that.
Okay,
I have a friend who is obsessed with spoilers. Like, she couldn't watch Game of Thrones because she had like a kid, and like by the time it was on, her kid was like being put to bed. It was a whole thing, and now she's been like going back and rewatching, even though she already knows what happens. But some people like spoilers.
All right.
So if that's you, welcome.
Yeah, and read it because we pretty much told you what happens.
Great book.
All right, so next week we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to be doing our October predictions like we normally do, but we're going to do it live on Podbean. So you do have to download Podbean to be alerted. You have to follow us, have to download it and follow us. I will put a link out there for you on Instagram and Twitter. That will be on October...
What did we say, the 1st?
Yes.
Yeah.
October 1st, 12:30 Central Standard Time. And we're also going to be giving away some new October arcs and some 2020 pubs, some highly anticipated 2020 pubs. So we hope that you will join us there. And the next read along will start in next Sunday, not this Sunday because this is Sunday right now, you're listening, but next Sunday. Every Sunday in October we will be reading The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh.
Woo!
I don't know how I feel about this.
Yeah,
I retired her jersey, and I have to take it down from the rafters and put another player in it.
But but we want listens.
That great sports analogy I just did for you.
I'm so lost. No, I'm following. I'm tracking.
Yeah.
However, we're thirsty bitches, and we want the listens.
Yeah, it's like,
obviously hypey.
It's hypey. So yeah,
people for some reason are still reading
let's
her.
hope she grew as a writer.
We will try to read with an open mind, but
Yes,
at the
we
same
will.
time, this is the Novel Universe podcast where we tell you how we feel about books, regardless.
If you must, I will link our review of The Flame in the Mist. It was not a pretty sight. It was bad.
Whoa, that was one of my worst books of that year.
I've met Renee Ahdieh. We both met her. She's
I
a
am
lovely
sure she's
person.
a wonderful person. None of this is personal. And
No.
I hate shitting on books. I don't want to read a bad book. I don't want to dislike a book. But I went to school to criticize books.
Yeah.
My degree was on critical theory. So, I can't help it. Anyway,
Yeah.
So we have opinions.
All right. Well, thank you for reading along with the universe, and we will catch you in the next podcast.